When you wish upon a star, it makes a difference who you are. If you're a jihadi, you wish the infidels dead. If you're a kafir, you wish everyone clothed and fed. Let's all wish for love and peace, and that resistance to jihad increase. And that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. The great David Wood and I, Robert Spencer, author of the Quran. David, welcome to This Week in Jihad.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Robert. And I happen to know that there's been some jihad this week because I even heard it from regular news platforms who always seem to try to ignore it. So this is actually one of those rare weeks. Only happens a few times a year. See, here's what's crazy. You're reporting terrorist attacks every single day, a bunch of them. So does Religion of Peace and some other sites, and yet I only hear about a few attacks per year. Mm-hmm. Apart from you or Religion of Peace or a site like that, I only hear of a couple of attacks. But anyway, I heard of two big ones this week. So that's like a crazy week where they had to report two things.
Which ones were they? I don't actually know which ones get into the mainstream.
I heard about the attack outside, I think it was outside a synagogue in Israel. I heard that one.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Okay.
And the mosque attack in Pakistan. I heard about those two.
Gotcha. Okay. Very good.
Fortunately, we can all understand how horrible it is to be going to a place of worship and then be massed. Both of those are attacks on places of worship.
Yes,
and we can all understand how horrifying that would be. But we can all be comforted by the fact that I'm sure the peace-loving people of Gaza and West Bank roundly condemned the attack. I just want to, so as long as we're good there, as long as everyone condemns it, and there, it was just a tiny minority, like one or two people who did the attack, everyone else condemns it, then at least there's hope for the future.
Yeah. Unfortunately, of course, as you know, David, I'm sure there have been massive celebrations all over Gaza and the West Bank, celebrating the deaths of these people in the synagogue, and also the shooting several days later of two Israelis in Jerusalem's Old City by a 13-year-old jihadi. And so it's a very strange thing. Can you explain it to us, for those of us in our viewing audience who may not be familiar with these concepts, why it is that somebody would celebrate such a thing?
Yeah, and why someone would send a 13-year-old to do the attack. So here's the basic situation. There is ongoing hostility against Jews. You know why. Quran says it. Jews are the worst of creatures, like Christians, but according to the Quran, Jews are the most vehement in hostility towards Muslims. Then in the Muslim sources, like the Hadith, you have Muhammad himself saying that the end will not come. So you don't get your paradise of virgins until you slaughter the Jews to such an extent that they're hiding behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees themselves are calling out, saying, "There's a Jew behind me, come kill." But if you're a Muslim, you're looking around going, "Man, we have over a fifth of the world's population. We can't do anything against these Jews except for random terrorist attacks." But it's really frustrating. So there's that was already built into Islam, but then you have this additional factor, namely that Muslims once had control of Israel and now they don't. And there's this additional idea that there's this ongoing jihad to reclaim any land that was once controlled by Muslims. The fact that it's controlled by Jews is all the more enraging to them. And you might wonder, well, what you might be thinking, well, okay, well, it's one thing if they go after soldiers. Why are they just going after random people? But Muhammad said that the person who funds or provides for a jihadi gets the same reward as the jihadi, and they apply that in reverse as well, and that's the justification for groups like Al Qaeda and so on. When you say why are you attacking like random civilians and so on, they will tell it goes back to Muhammad. Muhammad said it's not just the person who attacks you, it's the person who makes that person capable of attacking you, the person who provides for that person. Well, here's a question: who provides for the Israeli soldier? And the answer is regular Israeli civilians who pay their taxes, other governments who support them, and so on. And so American taxpayers are all part of this. And it's all part of what's called making mischief in a Muslim land. So they view these lands as Muslim lands. And the verse after the supposedly most peaceful verse in the Quran, Surah 532, that's the one, if you killed a man, it's as if you've killed all mankind, as long as you completely rip out the beginning of the verse and ignore the next verse. But the very next verse says that the penalty for waging war against Allah and making mischief in the land is crucifixion, dismemberment, just being executed, or depending on the translation, exile or imprisonment. And so notice the reasoning here, because this is so straightforward. This is so simple and easy to understand. Everyone who's watching, from a Muslim perspective, not according to us, from a Muslim perspective, are Jews making mischief in a Muslim land? Yes, lots, according to them. So if they're making mischief in a Muslim land, then what's the penalty? Death. Is it just the soldiers who are bothering you? Are they the only targets? No, because the ones who make it possible for the soldiers to do this are equally responsible. What's that mean? It means you could just go randomly slaughter people. And we keep saying, and they keep doing it over and over and over again. They say what the reasoning is. If you pay attention, Osama bin Laden and his followers were saying this for years, and yet no one can figure this out. It's such a senseless attack, especially since the Quran, as long as we ignore all context and completely distort the meaning, says if anyone killed a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. So we have no idea where this is coming from.
It's also worth noting that Osama used the same reasoning in justifying attacks on American civilians, that they were funding this war machine that was making war on Islam, and consequently, because of their taxes, they were fair game. It's interesting to note that the argumentation is exactly the same on the part of the jihadis for both attacks on American civilians and Israeli civilians. And the theological underpinnings of attacks on both are exactly the same in every respect. And yet I still encounter some people who are quite well informed, who say, well, I support activity, I oppose jihad, I should say. I oppose jihad violence, terrorism, Islamic expansion, and imperialism, and so on. But I don't support Israel. I think that the Palestinians need to be supported. And they manifest in saying that a fundamental misunderstanding of both the goal and the motivations of the Palestinian jihad and of the global jihad in general. It's all the same jihad.
Yeah, and I've been to the West Bank, and so I've been around there. But if it wasn't for all the terrorists, I'm in favor of what's best for the people who are there too.
Sure.
Yeah, it seems like the people who are there would love to just mind. A lot of the people who are there would love to have their own state and stuff, but they can't, because the leaders who are in charge over them will never allow that to happen, because as you know, their goal is complete annihilation of Israel, which is why, even if that were not part of the issue, I'd be like, well, just make two states. What's the problem? But one side calls for the only thing that's acceptable to one side is the complete extermination of the other side. And so if there
were a Palestinian state, it would just become another jihad base, like Gaza did. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what was the other one now? You said there were two.
There was
the Pakistani
attack.
Mosque attack. Now
where
the
Pakistani Taliban claimed responsibility and then denied responsibility. So that's as far as I've seen out of that one.
Very strange. It's extraordinarily bloody, the death toll over 100. One thing we can be sure of course, is that it wasn't Islamophobes who did this. It wasn't people who are always characterized as being the bigger threat. It is Muslim on Muslim violence based on sectarian differences, possibly Sunni Shiite, possibly rival Sunni groups, but in any case, because of the death penalty for heresy and apostasy, if you are a member of the Islamic State, then you think the Islamic State is the true caliphate, and the people who are not in the Islamic State and ISIS, they are renegades from the lawful authorities appointed by Allah, and consequently they can be killed. And yet we never hear. The international bodies all talk about Islamophobia. They never talk about the motivations for attacks of this kind.
Yeah, and isn't it weird? I mean, as soon as I heard that there was a major suicide attack on a mosque. Now think about this. This is Pakistan, right? There are very oppressed Christians there. Christians who you can go kidnap their daughters, force their daughters to convert, rape them, marry them, whatever you want to do, and no one's going to do anything about it. And if you complain about it, they'll just kill you. So you'd think, okay, Christians have a lot of reasons to be angry and hostile. Same thing with Hindus in Pakistan as well. Hindus are in the same situation in Pakistan. So you have these groups that have been oppressed for a long time. And yet, as soon as I hear about the mosque attack, I'm like 98% sure that it's another Muslim group, right? Why? It's just experience. That's the way it normally is. Now, there could always, at some point in the future, be some attack and it's some other group. But generally, the mosque attacks are by Muslims from a different group, or Muslims who have a different leader. And as you pointed out, that's part of Islam, because I've already heard this, that if it was Muslims, then they're not real Muslims because a Muslim cannot kill another Muslim. Wrong. Muhammad said, Surah 9, verse 73, that he's been commanded to wage jihad not only against unbelievers, but also against the hypocrites. Surah 4, verse 65 says that if you are not following everything Muhammad says down to the letter, you're not a real Muslim. So they would put you in the apostate category or the heretic category if they think you're off on some issue. Abu Bakr, Muhammad's closest companion, his father-in-law, and father of Muhammad's child bride Aisha, and the first of the rightly guided caliphs. After Muhammad died, Abu Bakr had to fight the apostate wars because so many people were like, finally, we're done with Muhammad. Now we don't have to follow him anymore. We're only pretending to follow him because we're terrified of him. So Abu Bakr fought wars against them. But here's what's interesting. The apostate wars weren't just against people who renounced Islam. There were also groups who said, no, we're still Muslims. We're just going to pay our zakat the way we decide, not the way the government tells us to. And that's when Abu Bakr and Sahih al-Bukhari said, if you withhold even a piece of rope that you would have given to Muhammad, I'm coming to kill you. So according to Abu Bakr, the first of the rightly guided caliphs, if you are simply not paying your zakat to the authority that he deems authoritative, he's treating you as an apostate and coming to kill you. And so, not according to me, according to Muhammad and Allah and Abu Bakr, the rightly guided caliphs, if Muslim groups start deviating from what you say they should be practicing, treat them as apostates or heretics and come to kill them. And yet, when we have Muslims who actually do that, you guys aren't following the true caliph, I'm coming to kill you. You guys aren't doing this right. You guys are heretics. You guys are Shias. You're this. As soon as they do it, I get this barrage to this day, this barrage of comments. Oh, they're not real Muslims because they killed Muslims. The exactly as the Quran and Muhammad and Abu Bakr said, but we'll declare that means they're not Muslims. Great. Well, then great. The entire first generation of Muslims were fake Muslims. Thank you.
The rightly guided caliphs. And they're
Abu Bakr, what does he know?
Yes. All right. Shall we go to the ever popular stupid infidels category?
Yeah, it's actually, hearing how stupid people are is, At least it's not as bad as hearing about all the people slaughtered.
Indeed. It's been a pretty busy week for the stupid infidels. In the first
Oh, wait,
place...
wait, whoa, 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 whoa. We're forgetting something here.
What's that? Tell me.
It is, I mean, this should be the name of the show.
What's that?
It is simultaneously World Hijab Day and No Hijab Day.
Oh, yeah. You know, World Hijab Day, I meant to lead off with, and then we had more technical difficulties. The jinns came again, and then we got on to the ones that were reported in the media. I got totally distracted. Yes,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Forgot my hijab.
I'll call the morality police. Today, February 1st, 2023, is World Hijab Day. And it's been proclaimed in a resolution by the City Council of Newark, New Jersey. The governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul, has proclaimed that it's World Hijab Day. That's beautiful. That's it, man.
Yeah, it doesn't look right. I can't pull it off.
What is that? That looks like some large mask or something.
No, this is a waterproof. They're called chucks. I lay them down when I'm going to spill water and stuff.
Gotcha. Well, always need those.
I actually use them to shave on, so I don't get hairs all over the place. I just open one of those up. I trim my beard, and I lay that down, and then all the clippings go onto that. I just ball it up and throw it away. So.
Now, you know, I'm 100 years old. You're giving me advice I never heard. What a great idea. Anyway, losing
never mind.
The thread yet again.
People are pointing out that I can use my shirt. They're correct. Go ahead, Robert. Talk about World Hijab Day. Or no Hijab Day.
World Hijab Day is based on the idea that Muslim women are so oppressed in the West and so... It was like Zahra Baloo. So oppressed and so discriminated against because they wear hijab that Western non-Muslim feminists on this day, every year, they put on hijabs in solidarity with these supposedly oppressed Muslim women. Now, there are several problems with this. One is that we have a shortage of oppressed Muslim women. That is, there are plenty of oppressed Muslim women, but they're oppressed by the people who make them wear hijab. There are vanishingly few examples of non-Muslims actually harassing or discriminating against women who wear hijab. Any of them that really exist, any of them that really happened, I unequivocally condemn. Nobody should be bothering Muslim women if they are wearing hijab. But the fact is that most of the actually all of the widely publicized stories of this have been shown to be completely false. They were fabricated. In one case, a girl she had a non-Muslim boyfriend and she was sneaking out to see him and she didn't want her father to find out. So she was late coming home one day and fabricated a story about how she was harassed on the New York subway. Became international news right away. It was all false.
I remember that. He shaved her head, right?
Yes, he did. Yes. Very ominously. Yep. But the thing is, this is World Hijab Day. It's already silly because we don't have the kind of oppression that they claim that we have in the West. But also, it's grotesque this year. It's particularly obscene this year because there are women who are in prison. There are women who've been killed in Iran in protesting the forced hijab in the Islamic Republic. And now they're having World Hijab Day again. They should have gotten behind No Hijab Day, which was developed by, or if not developed by, at least one of the biggest boosters of it is Masih Alinejad, the great Iranian dissident. And a group of free women all around the world have started this a few years ago to counter World Hijab Day, that today is also No Hijab Day. And that's what the feminists really, at this point, with what's going on in Iran, it's incredible that they're still doing this World Hijab Day business.
It is cool that, the tides seem to have turned because I've seen No Hijab Day trending all day on Twitter, and I'm checking right now, and it's still trending. So it's trending, and World Hijab Day isn't. So looks like people are catching on, and it's really simple. It's just like you said. I mean, you have to really search to find anyone attacking someone simply because they wear a hijab. You do not have to look hard at all. You just have to open your eyes for information about women who are attacked for not wearing the hijab, women who are raped for not wearing the hijab, women who are killed for not wearing the hijab. And so it just seems, unless you're totally just tone deaf to everything that's going on in the world, bad, stupid idea to have a World Hijab Day right now. And yet, they still try it. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's just amazing that Western women, Western Muslim women, can look at what's going on in the world right now and say, we're the ones who are oppressed right here in the West. We're the ones who are oppressed, not those women who are being raped and beaten and tortured and killed. Not them. It's all about us. It's really weird, narcissistic thing that Islam seems to do to people.
Yep. And really, the whole protest in Iran started with the death of Mahsa Amini, a 23-year-old woman who was arrested by the morality police for not wearing her hijab properly. Then she died under mysterious circumstances in custody. Many Iranians contend, and it seems very likely, of course, that she was tortured and killed in custody. And it's all because of the hijab. The protests that have been going on for months all came around because of the hijab. And so it's absolutely appalling that there's World Hijab Day this year, but it's today.
And it is, as you've pointed out, it is good that there are some people sort of leading a charge here. And it seems like a handful of ex-Muslim women who are really exposing the stupidity of some of these ideas. Because, if anyone should be leading the charge right now, it's like Western feminists should be leading the charge against this stuff. But what do they do when they have a women's march or something? They have women speak and promote Islam to the crowd and say, "Hey, this is why you all need to convert to Islam." And I'm not exaggerating. They have Muslim speakers telling people that Muhammad was the original feminist. So all you feminists need to convert to Islam because he's the one who brought true equality between men and women. And this is what you get from keep in mind, not all. There are Western feminists who are way smarter than that. But those things, whenever they have some, gathering or something like that, that seems to rise to the surface, that let's all promote Islam. And so fortunately, again, we have some ex-Muslim women who are saying, my goodness, enough of this nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got plenty more nonsense, David, if we move on to more stupid infidels. John Walker Lind. You remember John Walker Lind, the famed Marin County Mujahid, the American Taliban.
He was one of the old school.
Yes, indeed. Old school, right? He was the first real high-profile post 9/11 convert to Islam. He was, as I noted, from Southern California, and he went to Yemen and then to Afghanistan after he converted to Islam, and was arrested. Actually, he was captured on the battlefield, fighting alongside the Taliban and Al Qaeda against American troops in Afghanistan. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and he served 17. And then because of his wonderful good behavior and all that, he was released. And one of the conditions of his release was, of course, that he not have any contact with Islamic jihadis and anybody who promoted, quote, violent extremist Islam. But he flouted that and actually met 3 times. It has just been revealed. He met 3 times in 2021 with an ISIS recruiter. And so there were warnings before he was released that he was very much a convinced jihadi, that if he were released, he was going to go back to the jihad. He was told not to meet with jihadis. He immediately goes and meets not once, not twice, but 3 times with the jihadis, with the jihadi. The stupid infidels should have anticipated this from the beginning. We hear a lot about de-radicalization programs. That we have them in the United States, they have them in the UK, they have them in Saudi Arabia, they have them elsewhere, and they supposedly put these jihadis through them and teach them the true peaceful Islam, and then they come out stockbrokers. David, what's wrong with this picture? Why doesn't it ever work?
Well, because the only person this would actually work with is someone who knows absolutely nothing about Islam. He just heard like his older brother talk about it and has no clue what it teaches, what it actually teaches. And then he walks in there and they say, "Oh, don't you know that according to the Quran, anyone who kills a man, it's as if he killed all mankind." That's one verse, and the other verse you should know is there's no compulsion in religion. By the way, don't ever, ever, ever look up those verses and read them in context or the historical background or anything else. Don't ever do it, and just believe what we say. And so that is the only situation where that would work. If you have anyone who actually knows what Islam teaches about jihad, you sound like an idiot when you start to, no, it's a religion of peace. Come on, Muhammad loved everyone, blah, blah, blah. And so it doesn't work. Seriously, I think the only thing you could actually do to get these guys to stop killing and change their minds would be if you said, no, guys, it's just, we can't do it now because we're outnumbered and outgunned. You got to wait 40 or 50 years because I see, people like Sheikh Asim al-Hakim who are actually saying that, guys, don't fight now. Don't fight now. You got to wait until we're ready. We can actually compete with the rest of these guys as for on the battlefield. So yeah, these just don't work. But I mean, think about this because you pointed out with this guy, but this is about to be a really, really big problem because you had all those people go over and join ISIS. Thousands of people went and joined ISIS. And some of them, they know what they did over there. They know who they killed. And so those people, when they get them back, they lock them up forever. A lot of the people, in fact, seems like the overwhelming majority of the people, they don't have a good idea of what they were actually doing over there in ISIS lands. And so what do they charge them with? They charge them with supporting a foreign terrorist organization and so on. And they give them 8-year sentences or 10-year sentences or 12-year sentences or something like that. Guess what, guys? Those guys are getting out. Those women, those men who went and joined ISIS and fought for the caliphate for 4 years and then go home and get a 10-year sentence, they're getting out. And they're getting out right about, they're getting out right now as we speak and do this show. And, some of them you're going to hear from again. Let's just say that.
No doubt about it. All right, let's go to Colorado. In Colorado, we had, a few years back, a gentleman named Ahmed Al-Aliwi Al-Isa. Now, Al-Isa is his name. I remember when he first killed 10 people in a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado in 2021. I looked him up, and just moments after the news broke, and I was able to find I believe it was his Facebook page, just a few minutes before it was taken down, and I saw that he himself spelled his name Al-Issa. Al-Isa. But in every news report about him, including the one this week, his name is spelled Alyssa, as if he's got an American girl's first name for his surname, Alissa. I think
like
that's
Alyssa Milano.
Yes. That's
there you go. Feminists at it again. Feminists are always Stu's a feminist.
Yes. This Alyssa he was declared once again mentally ill, incompetent to stand trial. Now, I haven't talked to him. He may really be incompetent to stand trial. I'm not saying he isn't. But I did want to point out, in terms of stupid infidels, the continued obfuscation of his name. When you write it Alyssa, it doesn't look as if he's necessarily somebody from an Arabic or Islamic background at all. And also, I have a very long list at Jihad Watch going back years of people who shouted Allahu Akbar, people who in other ways made it clear that they were jihadis, and they were declared mentally ill. And there's another detail about this case, David. When I put up at jihadwatch.org the story about Al-Isa being declared once again incompetent to stand trial, I went back and found a picture of him when he was arrested. And he's being led by two cops with his hands handcuffed behind his back, and he's wearing nothing but his underwear. He is shooting 10 people in the supermarket, wounding others, and he stops to strip to his shorts. Now, what is that all about? And how does it give us a clue as to what he's about?
Sounds like he's thought he was going to be killed and be ready for his virgins.
Bingo. Mohammed Atta, the 9/11 hijacker, his luggage was flagged. Didn't get onto the plane. He wasn't flagged. He got onto the plane and destroyed it. But his luggage was held. And inside his luggage, among other things, was a tuxedo. And apparently he planned, before he started the operation to crash the plane into the Twin Towers, to change into his tuxedo so that when he was meeting the virgins, he'd be decked out. The martyrs' bodies in Islamic theology. The body of a martyr is not washed because the virgins like the blood. They consider it appealing.
It says it smells like musk to them. Not Elon Musk, just like musk, the perfume musk. It smells good to them. By the way, so two things here. One, we've talked about this before, but you and I always, we look at that and we see over and over again that a guy can be shouting Allahu Akbar and have a manifesto and slaughter a bunch of people and explain and could literally do a press conference right afterwards, and all of a sudden this guy will be declared mentally unfit. And part of it is because of Western politicians and journalists and educators telling everyone Islam is so clearly, obviously a religion of peace and tolerance. I mean, it's as clear as day. If anyone kills a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. How could that be any clearer, as long as you don't actually bother to read it? So obviously, if Islam is so clearly and obviously a religion of peace and tolerance, if someone is reading this and they conclude they have to go fight unbelievers in the name of Allah, they must be insane, because there's no way any sane person could study Islam and conclude that it commands them to slaughter people in the name of Allah. And therefore, they already seem insane to the police and the mental health staff. And so they already seem like they're crazy, and to journalists. So that's one thing. The other thing, Christine Richardson, going back to all these jihadis who are going to prison, Christine Richardson says, don't forget all the recruiting they are doing in prisons. We often talk about prison dawah, and that's just amazing. You guys go out and wage jihad, or they're part of a grooming gang, and they're drugging and pimping and raping and gang raping 12 and 13-year-old girls in the name of Allah, and these guys will tell you exactly why. And then what's the crime? You violated these crimes, but what's the penalty going to be? Well, we're going to lock you up so you can do dawah and convince more people to join you. And it's just like, Islam just seems built for wreaking havoc on morons, right? I mean, if you're stupid, Islam is just going to be all over you.
Do you remember that guy I mean, I know you remember. I can't remember his name though. Ade Balajo or something like that. He was a Muslim.
Adebolajo.
Yeah, you know the guy. I mean,
Is that the guy
Michael.
who you got banned over that one?
Right. Yeah, he killed
Yeah.
drummer Lee Rigby on the street, beheaded the man on the street.
And then gave an interview
Yes,
on why he did it.
holding the bloody knife. He's quoting Quran chapter 9 verse 29.
He's citing Surat at-Tawbah. I remember that. Surat at-Tawbah.
Yes. And then the judge starts lecturing him about how he doesn't understand Islam. And he and his accomplice, they start yelling at the judge and saying, "You don't know anything about Islam. We are the true Muslims. We're acting out what it says." But the denial is so thick. The judge actually thought he knew more than these two jihadis about what Islam teaches.
And that's part of it. We've talked about that before. How Islam is the only topic, not just religion, not just ideology. It's the only topic in the world where the less you know about it, the more of an expert you are, and the more you know about it, the less of an expert you are.
Yep.
And that's how you get these judges. What? That's not what I read in, the Times of London or whatever we have over here. That's not what I read. I read this, and so you guys who are quoting the actual sources, you don't know what you're talking about.
Karen Armstrong told me that Muhammad was like Gandhi. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, what's that other guy over here? We did
Esposito?
shows about him. No. Yeah, there's Esposito, but there's that. He's like a college professor somewhere.
Well, I don't know. There's so many.
I occasionally hear. We did shows on him because he's the one who compared. He's the one who compared Muhammad to George Washington. Back in the day.
Yeah, Considine, Craig Considine.
Yeah, Craig Considine. This guy's teaching. This guy's teaching future generations of people in Islamic studies. Muhammad was just like George Washington, and I like every time I see him, it's something like that. It's like it's like pick the nicest thing in the world. Muhammad is just like that.
Yep.
It makes you popular though, guys. If you if you want to be showered with accolades and money and everything, just become an academic who does nothing but praises Islam all day.
It's true. It's the path to rapid advancement and a healthy bank account.
Yeah, who can turn down your paper for submission or turn you down for a promotion or anything? Because anyone who does that, it's because I'm praising Muhammad. You all see? You see? What is this, man? It's what I every day I think we can't possibly get any dumber. And
there's no bottom. Justin Trudeau is out there leading the way and taking us to new depths. He has just appointed a special representative to combat Islamophobia. This is a government position that is being held by a hijab-wearing Muslim woman named Amira El-Gawabi. And after the appointment of Amira El-Gawabi was announced, it was revealed that Amira El-Gawabi has, I'll bet you're going to be really surprised by this, David, she has made anti-Jewish statements.
Shocker. And shocker that they didn't vet her beforehand, because that would be Islamophobic, Robert.
Of course.
You just have to assume that anyone you pick at random is going to be a pillar of Western values.
And of course, we can be sure that Amira El-Gawabi, as she takes on her new duties with her over $5 million budget, that she is going to make very, very careful efforts to distinguish Islamophobia from honest criticism that is based on Quran and Sunnah of jihad violence and Sharia oppression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she's going to do that. That's going to happen.
By the way, wait. This keeps happening over the years. This happens over and over again, but it always reminds me of this ABC news report with Diane Sawyer and a couple of others where it was a 2020 special on Islam. And they were filming in New York where I lived, so I knew some of the Muslims in the area. And they actually had this little clip. So the entire thing is responding to all the claims of, people who actually read the Muslim sources and know what's in there, and showing how it's all myths and no one knows we don't know what we're talking about. And Taqiyya, it doesn't exist. None of these things exist, and so on. And then there's this one little part where Diane Sawyer says that Muslims are actually the ones who are on the front lines to protect us against jihadis. And they filmed 3 random Muslims in New York as examples. And the Muslims who are our first line of defense against terror. And right when they pointed the camera at Sadiq Abdul Malik, who was with Revolution Muslim. It was with Revolution Muslim. A bunch of those guys went to prison. They're the ones, in case everyone doesn't remember, they're the ones who, a bunch of them got locked up after, they're the ones who threatened Trey Parker and Matt Stone for having Muhammad in an episode of South Park, and then did other stuff and got locked up and so on. But I mean, you couldn't point a camera at 3 random Muslims and not get a terrorist, right? It's so weird. And so they keep doing that. It just never crosses their minds. Hey guys, why don't we check this guy out before we parade him around the world, or parade her around the world as the force against jihad and not in support of it.
Yeah, I think I've probably mentioned this to you before, but right after 9/11, the BBC did a big documentary about Islam, particularly Islam in the United States, and they interviewed a congressional staffer. I don't remember which congressman he was a staffer for, but he was a Muslim, and they went into his office and they're talking to him about being a Muslim in America, and particularly a Muslim in the United States government. And then he goes to prayers on Capitol Hill. And there is a room in the Capitol where the Muslims on Capitol Hill are gathering to pray. And so we go in, and the camera pans across the room, and I see Nihad Awad and Ibrahim Hooper of CARE, and Ismail Randall Royer, who was at that time of CARE, and then served about 15 years in prison, 14 years, something like that, for terrorist plotting in Virginia. And our congressional staffer goes in, and they're doing their prayers, and the sermon, it's Friday, the sermon is being preached, and the camera pans out so that we can see the preacher, Anwar al-Awlaki.
I was thinking Anwar al-Awlaki. I don't remember what I was thinking. I was thinking Anwar, he was around back then.
Oh, yeah. And they're talking about, all this is all about how these are the selfless, moderate Muslims fighting against Islamophobia on the one side and Islamic extremism that's hijacked their religion on the other. The usual drill.
And isn't it amazing? That's Capitol Hill, man.
Anwar al-Awlaki, on Capitol Hill, right there. Of course, the National Care Office is right there on Capitol Hill. Mm-hmm. Just a few minutes walk from the Capitol itself. And that's where Ibrahim and Nihad Awad hang out.
No, at least CARE's completely peaceful. That's what they say.
They're utterly benign. It's a very deeply cuddly organization. Strange story out of New Jersey. I don't know if you saw this. This just broke today. I saw this morning. And let me get I wrote an article about it that I neglected to queue up here, David. So, yeah, I wanted to get the article because it's got all this quotes. This guy in New Jersey, in Essex County, New Jersey, Badr al-Zahrani, who is a citizen of Saudi Arabia, he stole a school bus. There was nobody in it, and nobody was hurt. All that happened was he went from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, where he lives, and he was caught with this school bus in Pennsylvania. But across the street from the parking lot from which he stole the school bus was a house, an unoccupied residential home. The guy goes in there he breaks into the house, and his backpack, he left his backpack in this unoccupied house in New Jersey. I don't have any explanation for any of this, but they find his backpack, the cops, and they find that he's carrying around these journals, and the journals have entries like this. Why didn't you slaughter the police officer who threw the Quran? I don't know what police officer threw the Quran, but whatever. This is a war, and there will be losses and collateral losses. It is a war, and y'all started. Feel the rage. Destruction of the new world and the earth will be destroyed from all sides. God, I am ready for your orders. I want to live the rest of my life to serve you and the religion. Blood, blood, destruction, destruction. Allah.
Well, if that isn't peaceful, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Blood, blood, destruction, destruction, Allah. Can't put it more succinctly than that. He also went on to say, Jews control everything, and so on.
Well, it's really, so we don't know what he was doing with the bus?
No idea. Obviously, the available news reports, they quote some concerned parents saying, he could have done this with my kid on the bus, and who knows what he would have done. We don't know what his plans were.
That's what I mean. As soon as you said it, there are so many things you could do with a bus, right? If you successfully take a bus, you could always show up at a kid's bus stop and pick up some kids. You could do that if you have a bus. If you have a bunch of kids waiting on a bus and a bus shows up, then kids get on the bus. You could also just use it for the popular modus operandi from several years ago, where you just plow a big vehicle into a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And the idea there was a bigger vehicle that has a lot more weight to it, a lot more momentum, can plow through a lot more people and so on. So just all kinds of stuff you can do with a bus if you get one. Pretty sick.
So it does seem as if he did have nefarious plans of that kind. I mean, when you've got this blood, destruction, destruction, Allah, that's really fairly clear as to one's motive, although I'm sure that cops are baffled as to what his motive could be.
It's a pretty good summary of the Quran, though. I mean, that might have been like his notes. Like his Quran study notes, like, hey, this is the main gist. The main gist. Blood, destruction, slaughter, death, Allah.
Do you remember Mohammad Reza Tahiri Azar? He was the guy in North Carolina. He was in college at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And in 2006, he rented an SUV, drove it on campus, hit 9 students. He didn't kill anybody, but he was clearly trying. And he wrote a series of letters to the campus newspaper with detailed quotes of the Quran, explaining how he had read the Quran and realized that he had to wage war against infidels. And this was why he did it. And these were published in the student newspaper, and I got a few of them, but then they vanished. They do not exist online. Yes. He was a little too forthright.
By the way, we've mentioned before, I'm not sure when, this is a while back, but when it comes to, so I've gotten piles and piles and piles of death threats over the years. The vast majority of them, you're thinking, oh, if you were going to kill me, you just kill me. You're not going to be sending me messages whining and stuff like that. The only ones I've ever sort of taken remotely seriously, they're on two ends of the spectrum, but you just sort of summed up both ends of the spectrum. The one is where one end of the spectrum is where it just sounds like insane rants, right? Like you get, I get an email that says, die, Jew, God, kill you, Jew, right? And it's like just random and it like total misspelling. And it sounds like, page after page of die, kill, must kill, Allah, kill, right? And there you say, well, this person sounds like completely insane. So this person might actually come and try it. And at the other end of the spectrum, I've had people send me like 5-6 page, like, very well written articles on why they're going to kill me, right? Like quoting various passages, quoting scholars, citing things in English and Arabic. They've got footnotes and stuff like this explaining why they have to kill me. And it's like, oh, this person's putting a lot of thought into this. So this person sounds a bit serious, but yeah, those are. But notice, it doesn't matter who it could be. It could be the guy with the insane rants, and they just say, "Ah, this person's crazy," and or it could be a person like explaining in vivid detail, according to the sources, why he has to do it. I won't take that seriously either.
Yep. I remember actually ones I got years ago. You remind me. Absolutely unhinged all caps rants that went on for 4 or 5 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I later saw they were signed. They were signed by a real name. And I got so many of them. Later I saw that the woman who wrote them actually...
Let me guess. Ilhan Omar.
No, she was in Georgia. Not
If
Minnesota.
not, okay. Okay, Rashida Tlaib.
That's
No?
Michigan.
Oh, darn it. Linda Sarsour would be next, but that's New York. Darn.
No,
okay, I don't know.
this was actually a jihadi. She was killed. I think she tried to attack a police officer ultimately and was killed. If I recall correctly, maybe someone can remember the incident. But in any case, that was the closest that I got to anyone actually warning me and then following through. Although she didn't follow through on me. But you're right. Usually if they say they're going to kill you, I figure, well, that's one thing you're almost certainly not going to do. Not to say nobody will, but the people who are going to kill you usually don't tell you first.
Mm-hmm. They just show up and catch a smackdown from the Dizzle.
Oh, hey, we don't have much time. I want to make sure to tell you. I have been, or actually more precisely, Jihad Watch has been charged with blasphemy by the government of Pakistan.
Whoa, that's quite an honor.
I got the email on Monday, and it was from the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority. Very legal document. They say, henceforth the authority, and they have found that the website, henceforth platform, is involved in dissemination of content against the religion of Islam, Muslims, caricatures of Holy Prophet Muhammad Pabah, and circulating false rumors, reports against Muslims. Now that was a low blow because we don't circulate false reports.
No. We're the only ones who tell the truth around here.
Indeed.
They should be giving us medals. They agree with us. Why would they go after you? They agree with everything you say. You repeat word for word what they're preaching in their mosques, and you're the bad guy.
Well, it's interesting to note they say that they go on to say dissemination of such blasphemous content is a cognizable offense under sections 295A, 295C, 298 and 298A of Pakistan Penal Code 1860. Those are the exact provisions by which Pakistani Christians and Hindus are often falsely charged with blasphemy. So this is no joke because those people are often killed, lynched by mobs if they are not killed by the state authority. Anyway, the Pakistani government expects me to remedy this, taking action to discard all the blasphemous material and to clarify my position to the satisfaction of the Pakistan Telecommunications Authority.
Oh, you should make a video clarifying your position. And then you could thank them for their notification and tell them because you were all out of toilet paper and have it sitting in your bathroom.
That's a good idea. Maybe I will make a video this week. We'll see. I don't know. Going solo on a video, it's going to be a difficult thing.
It's pretty rough.
Yes, indeed. But anyway, that is also strange because actually we have been, that is Jihad Watch, has been blocking Pakistan for 10 years because Pakistan sent so many DOS attacks, are they called? Mm-hmm. So many of those denial of service attacks that our tech guy said that it just isn't worth it, and we blocked Pakistan. So I don't know how the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority suddenly found this. Also, it's a 7.5-year-old post that they're saying is blasphemous, that was announcing that our Muhammad art exhibit and cartoon contests that was attacked by ISIS in Garland, Texas in 2015 was sold out. This is before it happened. And I note that the Pakistani government doesn't ever seem to have said a thing about the ISIS attack on our event.
Yeah,
but
that's
they're
all
very
good to go.
upset about the blasphemy.
Yeah, it's weird. Like for years, I would get these video takedown notices from YouTube, but it would say that the reason we have to take this down is because we got notification from a government agency reporting that this violates such and such law in Pakistan, and therefore we have to take it down in Pakistan. They're not taking it down in the rest of the world, just in Pakistan. But I got piles and piles of those, and it was just always amusing to me that there was like some guy in an office somewhere watching my videos all day. And,
Yes.
this is the guy in charge of David Wood videos.
We have found more blasphemy. All right.
Like I know. I mean, the reason. I mean, you got people starving in Pakistan, living in just complete poverty and so on, and
Yeah.
like the government's let's find these guys online before.
You've got a blasphemy director, a blasphemy detective.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, quite a lot of jihad.
They probably do shows about those guys over here because they're heroes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's statues of them in Islamabad.
like that's their version of like, you know, like Law and Order over there. Hey, we should do a spoof one day, Law and Order, like Pakistan edition.
Blasphemy hunters, yes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I love it. All right, there's quite a lot of jihad, David, and I'm just going to go through some things quickly because we only have a few minutes. But so much jihad this week. We have a Muslim student nurse who planted a bomb outside a maternity ward. That was in Britain.
Good nurse.
And the reports actually said that he was inspired by radical Islam, so-called, and jihad. In Germany, the New Year's Eve rioters, where some of them were caught on video saying, "Should we kidnap a cop? By Allah, I mean seriously." And so the Germans expect that they can give these people light sentences and they'll be loyal German citizens after this. They're going to be there for a surprise.
Yeah, of course, especially if you de-radicalize them.
Indeed. In Spain, I think actually, did we talk about this last week? The attack in Spain, guy screaming Allahu Akbar, he went into more than one church and he killed a priest, killed a sacristan, injured a priest. And screaming Allahu Akbar, they're not sure that's terrorism. No, another one in Spain, another migrant from Morocco who was in what they called an advanced state of jihadist radicalization. He planned to carry out a machine gun massacre.
He was halfway through the Quran.
Yep, so he was going to machine gun non-Muslims vacationing on the popular Spanish beach at Benidorm. In India, we have a Muslim taking a minor Hindu girl hostage and assaulting her, ultimately setting her on fire because she refused to convert to Islam. Why was he so intent on having her convert to Islam, David?
You said Hindu?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to pull off Jew or Christian, but the Hindu's got to convert.
Indeed. In France, there was a Muslim who had to appear in court, who is already well known to court and police officials because of his multiple threats, and he went to court and he threatened to return with the sword of Allah and dismember the police and judiciary. Also in Britain, a Muslim soldier in the British Army has been charged with terror and explosive offenses. In France, a gentleman converted to Islam and then he beat his former partner until she fell into a coma. and explained that the Quran allowed him to do this. And let's see. Sudan, we have the murder of a church pastor and 3 other Christians. We talked about the celebration of the jihad attacks among the Palestinians. In Nigeria, always a hotbed of jihad. Jihadis hacked a farmer and his son to death, shot other people, abducted still others to hold as hostage to get ransoms. 5 Christians also murdered in the northeast and 12 in the middle belt of Nigeria by Islamic jihadis. So it's been a busy week for jihad, David. But I suppose we can end with the answer to this question. David Wood, what are you wearing?
Where you been, Bo Rudder? It's World Hijab Day. Where you been? Are you the only person in the world not celebrating World Hijab Day?
That's it. So David, in honor of World Hijab Day, has donned a kind of hijab. Prince would be pleased by your choice of hijab. But in any case, this has been This Week in Jihad, World Hijab Day edition. Thank you all for being here. Never give up, never give in, resist. And remember, pray, hope, and don't worry.